This obelisk stands outside the Blue Mosque, and it was built in the 10th century by one of the Roman emperors, Constantine VII. It's about 100 foot tall. This obelisk, also nearby the Blue Mosque, is much older. It dates from 450 BC and was transported from Egypt, where it was built by one of the Egyptian pharaohs whose name was Tutmos, and it celebrated his victory in what is now the river Euphrates in Iraq. And each of its four faces has a central column on which there are inscriptions celebrating this pharaoh's great victory. Theodosius had it transported, as I said, and erected here at this site. And it also is about 100 feet tall. And on the base, where I stand in front, you can see an inscription and actually some relief statuary, and it shows Theodosius offering the crown of victory to the winner of some chariot races, which were held there at what was called the Hippodrome during his time. This is one of the four minarets which stand at the corners of the Blue Mosque, and two others are at the end of the forecourt. Until recently, the prayer caller had to climb a narrow spiral staircase 5 times a day to announce calls to prayers for obedient Muslims. But today a public address system is used, and the call can be heard all across the old part of the city and is echoed by other mosques in the vicinity. Up these steps, you gain entrance to the forecourt of the Blue Mosque. You can see the elaborately decorated portal, and behind it you can see just a very small part of this huge and beautiful Blue Mosque. As we step through the portal, we begin to see the Blue Mosque, which is beginning to be revealed here. Looking to the right, we can see another of the minarets as we're standing in the forecourt of the Blue Mosque. Here's the interior of the famous Blue Mosque. It's absolutely huge. It was built over 400 years ago, and this is where the faithful come to pray. You can see all the lights. They're suspended, of course, from the ceiling. These people here are milling around. They're not the faithful who have come to pray, but rather spectators. The Blue Mosque, like all mosques, is open to the public, and the faithful still come here to pray 5 times a day. Although the floor is carpeted, the Muslims as they come to prayer, they'll bring their own prayer rugs with them and lay down on top of this carpeted floor. And here's the ceiling, adorned with many of the famous blue tiles for which the Blue Mosque gets its name. As I stand here in front of one of these huge columns supporting the roof, of which there are, I don't know, several, probably half a dozen. Anyhow, you can get a feel for just how huge each of those columns are. And in ancient times, each of those formed reservoirs of water for the old city of Constantinople. Behind my left hand, you can see a faucet, which in those times people could come to get the public water. Inside the Blue Mosque was this display of what would be the mother of all mosques. This one is actually located, the real mosque for which this display is modeled, is in Medina, in Saudi Arabia, and it sports, I think, 10 minarets. And so it's the granddaddy and the most sacred, I suppose, of all mosques. Here's my collection of shots of the beautiful Blue Mosque as we depart it and head across some grounds in order to visit the Hagia Sophia, an equally famous and beautiful and much more ancient building, a religious building. As we leave the Blue Mosque, we can see just very close across these beautifully landscaped grounds, we can see the Hagia Sophia. This building is much more ancient than the Blue Mosque. Actually, its dedication was in 360 AD, more than 1,000 years before the Blue Mosque was built. And from its dedication in 360 until 1453, it served as a cathedral. And after that, it was converted into a mosque from May of 1453 until 1935, at which time it was opened as a museum. And it was the seat of the Patriarch of Constantinople and the religious focus of the entire Eastern Orthodox Church for nearly 1,000 years. But in 1453, Constantinople was conquered by the Ottoman Turks, and Sultan Mehmed II ordered the building converted into a mosque. The bells, altar, and other such items were removed, and many of the mosaics were eventually plastered over. The Islamic features, including 4 minarets outside, were added over the course of its history under the Ottomans. Thereafter, for almost 500 years, the principal mosque of Istanbul, that is, Hagia Sophia, served as a model for many of the other Ottoman mosques, such as the Blue Mosque. We were fortunate enough to visit Istanbul in springtime, and it was just overflowing with beautiful greenery and flowers. In fact, the tulip is the national flower of Turkey. Its use there preceded by hundreds of years its use in Holland, which is really known for tulips. But Turkey is the home of the tulip, and these grounds were absolutely beautiful, as was all of Turkey that we visited. Istanbul is one of the major cities of the world, having over 14 million people, and I never realized what an important, historic, and beautiful place it is.